Before I share this model with you, I want to ask you 3 quick questions, kind of check-in questions to see where your head's at to get you in the game. These are very easy questions. You just need to give yourself a score between 1 and 7, 1 low, 7 high. If you've got pen and paper, feel free to write it down. If you've got a gadget, you want to record it on that, that's okay. Otherwise, just get these numbers in your head, okay? Here's the very first question I want to ask you. In the remaining 55 minutes I've got with you, how active and engaged do you plan to be? Exactly. You know why I'm asking that, right? So 1, low, you're like, dude, I'm done here. I'm so done here, right? I'm hanging out for the beer, and quite frankly, in the next hour, my goal is to get my pulse rate into the low 30s, okay? That's what I'm up for, okay? 7, on the other hand, is, quite frankly, this is what I've been waiting for all day. This is going to be fantastic. I'm going to jump in, do volunteer, tell stories. I'm going to be all over it, okay? So whatever your number is, I don't mind. It's your choice. But give yourself a score between 1 and 7. That's nice. Second question. Score of 1 to 7. How much risk are you prepared to take? How much risk are you prepared to take? Now, I know that's a bit of an unusual question, but this isn't going to be me lecturing you for an hour on great work. It's going to be you thinking about how you show up at work, how you live your life, what sort of work you do. And there's always a degree of risk in self-reflection, particularly when you're doing it with your colleagues who you're trying to persuade that you're actually a competent, smart person who knows what's happening in your life. So you have a degree of risk, and you have a choice about how much you want to reveal, how much you want to think about. So 1, I'm not going to think anything new. I'm not going to talk to anybody new. I'm not going to try anything new. I'm just going to keep it safe as safe. 7, on the other hand, I'm going to hold nothing back, right? I'm going to talk about that childhood incident that still makes me weep. When we do the naked thing out there, I'll be the first to be getting my clothes off, okay? That's what a 7 looks like, all right? So give yourself a number there between 1 and 7. Choice is yours. And what's the third? Here's the third question. On a scale of 1 to 7, how much do you care about the experience of the other people in the room? So 1, I hate these people. It is a nightmare to be trapped in them for a room for a day, and apparently we're going to now do interactive stuff. That sounds terrible. 7, on the other hand, I love these people. These are my peers. We don't see each other enough. It's actually great to have a chance to interact, to mingle, to drink with them later on. I'll make sure that in the next hour I won't screw anything up, and I'll make sure that they have a good time as well. So what do you think I'm talking about with great work? What's that? Innovate, inspiring, for sure. What else? Makes a difference? It's breakthrough stuff. Fantastic. What else? Wow, yeah, love that. Good. What else? What does it feel like when you're doing great work? Well, you've all done that. Highly productive. You're energized. What was this? Energizing. Fantastic. So you've got half the story for sure, because great work is the work that makes a difference. It's the work that has an impact. It's the work that has meaning for you. You probably had an experience. I mean, we're coming up to summer, so barbecues, picnics, hanging out with people, maybe at conferences like this. You meet somebody new. And after the obligatory 2 questions, they inevitably say, so what do you do? And you know that question because your heart sinks a little, doesn't it? But what you do is you get your internal PR agent and you wind it up a little bit and you give them the spiel about what you do. And part of you is thinking, am I trying to convince them I have a good job, or am I trying to convince me I have a good job, right? That's the good work moment. But when you're doing great work and they go, hey, what are you up to? That's when you kind of light up. That's when you start kind of slightly chasing them around the pool, right? And they're backing away from you going, I'm just doing small talk, calm down, okay? How good are we at saying no? We all suck, at saying no, okay? We're terrible at it. So I'm going to give you my secret on how to say no, okay? This may be the most valuable thing you take away from this entire showcase, okay? The secret to saying no is learning how to say yes more slowly. Because what kills you is not saying yes, it's the fact that you just say it as an automatic response to the request. So you need to slow down how you say yes. And I don't mean going, yeah. What I mean is asking some good questions. Here are some questions that I might ask if somebody asked me to do anything, which is like, well, why are you asking me? And have you asked Evan, because Evan's fantastic at this? And how does this fit into my big goals for the year? And when you say it's urgent, what do you mean by urgent exactly? And if I could only do one small part of it, what part would I do? And when you say excellent, what does excellent actually mean for you? And when you ask these questions, one of four things happen. One is they go, look, just shut up and do it, okay? You're really irritating me, okay? It's not magic, all right? The second is they go, I don't have the answers to your questions, but they're good questions. Let me go back and find out, and then I'll come back and give you answers, and that's great, because they may never come back, right? Perfect. Thirdly, they might actually have the answers, in which case it's a thoughtful request, in which case you may want to say yes to that. And fourthly, they may go, seriously, I was only asking you because you had a pulse and you walked by my door, okay? You're way too difficult. I'm going to go and find somebody who's a whole lot easier to ask and give them this task, in which case you free yourself up and you get out of the rescue mode. So great insight. That's good. Jump into a threesome. I mean, I know you've heard that before, but jump into a threesome. And that's perfect. Thank you very much. Great. So here's what's going to happen. In a few minutes, you're each going to spend 3 minutes telling a story of a time when you have done great work. Now, I know some of you are immediately going, damn it, I should have made a run for it while I had the time, okay? But I'm going to set this up for you so it's nice and easy. So I'm going to give you 3 kind of clues to help you tell this story in 3 minutes. The first is to know who goes first. Let's say the person who's worked in their organization the longest gets to go first, okay? So figure that out really quickly. Who's going first? Perfect, good. Okay, you know who's going first. Second thing, more importantly, your story about great work does not have to be a story of triumph. Because actually, great work is what matters to you. It's a subjective test. So what matters to you is, this is a peak moment in my career, a moment where I met a challenge, where I stepped up, where I did something I'm proud of, where I saw a better version of myself. And sure, sometimes that involves an audience and a parade and a handshake and a bonus and that light that comes down from God and lights you up and stuff like that. But often it doesn't. Often great work is unseen, unrecognized, doesn't even look like success sometimes. Now I'm going to tell you a really quick story from my past to illustrate just that. So when I was 17, I finished high school in Australia, and I took a year out and I headed to England. And I knew exactly why I was going to England, because I was going to learn how to drink beer in the English pub system, and I was going to go traveling around Europe on the Eurail thing during the summer holidays, because I had a job at a school lined up. So I showed up at this school. They'd never hired somebody like me before. And the headmaster said, well, Michael, welcome. So would you like to do some teaching while you're here? And I went, well, here's the thing. I had just a movie. Some of you may know it. It's called To Sir with Love. Anybody know this movie? Yeah, so lots of heads know it. Sidney Poitier walks into a troubled inner city school and full of angst-filled teenagers that all happen to be very good singers as well, and they sing to him and he works with them and they all ends up happily. And I was like, teach? I am going to be Sidney Poitier. When these kids are talking to their children's children, they will be telling stories about me, right? So I went, absolutely, I would love to teach. So because I was being paid, I think, 50 pounds a month working at this place, something ridiculous. They gave me a full teaching workload because they're like, we can totally exploit this guy. So they gave me a range of classes, but one in particular stands out. There are only 10 kids in this class. They're all about 10 years old. And any of you who are parents know that a 1 to 10 teacher-student ratio is actually pretty fantastic. But here's the thing. 6 of the kids were profoundly deaf. So I show up and I have an Australian accent, and I have a speech impediment, and I have a cleft lip and palate, so I have weird lips, right? So the deaf kids are like, what's going on? Right? The other 4 kids, ADHD, so they're just like, ah, ah. Right? So I'm working with this class for 2 terms. And in my imagination, there was a brief moment where I had all 10 of them reading the same book at the same time. But I'm now thinking that's actually a kind of fake PSTD memory that I've just made up to make me feel better about myself. I don't think it ever happened. But this did happen. One of the kids picked up a chair, his name was Johnny, and he threw it through a window. Bang! So you can imagine what that felt like, right? There's glass everywhere. There's kids crying. There are kids beating up the other kids who are crying. And as I'm standing there, I'm thinking to myself, this is not going well. I may not be a professional teacher, but I know this is not going well, right? And actually calming myself down and calming the kids down and getting that classroom back in control and teaching them for another 6 weeks or so, that still stands out for me as a great work moment, a peak moment for me.